Why do they attack me? Well, there are a great many reasons. They're petrified of what I'm doing, of the power behind what I'm doing. They're terrified of what I stand for, and why it is that I do what I do.
And what is it that you do?
Well, everybody knows, but if you really don't, I'll teach you. I spontaneously create the most deliriously delectable food dishes imaginable. And they come to me in dreams, longings, musings, sexual sensations. What I'm doing now, most believed to be an impossibility prior to my career as a foodsman. And how do I do it? Internal power.
Is he a visionary? No. He is not a visionary. However, he is vision itself.
My whole thing was how to combine cooking here and now with self-sustainable, reusable resources, keeping it local but taking it to the outer limits. Sometimes cooking a meal is like taking a drive down the road. And you don't know really where you're gonna end up, but you know that you're gonna end up somewhere. I think food can be loving. It can also kill you.
I first became acquainted with the celebrated, the infamous, to some, the hated chef Zoe Zuoulu while on a writing assignment stint in Chef Zuoulu's quite literal hole-in-the-wall dining establishment in a dingy portion of the outer fringes of Greenwich Village. The joint was called Santo Grape, which is Portuguese for holy grape. I found this nomenclature odd, being that none of his dishes actually contained grapes of any kind, nor did he serve wine. But to know him is to know his approach. And one cannot truly know his approach without first knowing its many multifaceted components. Let us begin where any truly great culinary artist begins: the process.
Where does anything in life begin? Fucking. Everything in life begins with fucking. I'm not going to apologize if any of this comes across as uncouth. I don't do that. Not for myself, not for anyone else. What I do is speak the truth as I know it. Here in the garden, where I gather the basics for my latest creations, there's no room for dishonesty or platitudes of any kind. There is only truth. Bold, beautiful, pulchritudinous truth.
Some people paint with paint. Other people write, present company included, with words. And still others, well, they sing with their voices, and that is their art. That's what they do, creatively. That is their singular contribution, artistically, and I dare say, charitably, to the world. Now, here is Chef Zoe Zuoulu, creating something entirely new and different. Is it spiritual? Is it metaphysical? Or is it simply, for lack of a better term, delicious?
I like chefs who cook for themselves and don't give a shit about what their customers are going to say or what they want or if they want something changed. You know, when you walk into a restaurant, you're entering the chef's house. And I feel like that very much when I come in to eat with Chef ZZ. You know, he really takes the dining experience and pushes it. You know, a lot of restaurants started off by having their head chef walk around and talk with the customers and so forth. ZZ pushes that. Not only does he not talk to you, but while you're eating a meal, if you get the special meal, he'll slap you in the face a couple times while you eat, and it really just brings out the flavors a lot more. It's a new dimension to eating that no one has ever done before, and it's revolutionary.
He's capable of taking anything, and making it into a gastronomical masterpiece.
The first time I met him was when I asked to see the chef in his restaurant, our server, having been gone 20 or 30 minutes, came back to find the table green and gassy. I asked to see the chef to inquire just what he was serving us, as it wasn't recognizably food. I learned later that Chef Zuoulu's mental cooking method, where he infuses flavors into objects with his mind, really just involves him leaving things out at dangerous temperatures on counters and then plating them.
They should just stop all award shows, because if you really think about it, there's nothing left to achieve that he hasn't already done.
I learned a lot about being a complete and total dipshit from hell. I learned that if you force your clientele to eat shit, they're probably not gonna like it. And as far as being a person, I learned how not to be a person.
My concern was no concern. Zoe's concern was getting it right. That's why we split up. We had 2 restaurants, one successful for 8 years until I left, and then I opened up a little shop called Rad Dad's. I was into chicks, you know, and I wanted it to be family friendly, so I opened up a little hot dog joint called Rad Dad, you know. Then Rad Dad's, it closed up after the first 2 weeks. And I think that was my fault. We were selling $15 hot dogs. Probably a poor choice. The market crashed.
For most chefs, they have this, parabolic pattern, They turn into the hottest thing, and they're like a rocket shooting into space because they're so hot. And then everybody, it's trendy and everybody likes it and everybody does it and they eat their food and everything, and then it flames out or it becomes commonplace. The challenge for Zuoulu is to stay current. He's the hot ticket right now. Will he be the hot ticket next year? Will he be the hot ticket 5 years from now? Will people look into history and say, Zuoulu stands out among the greatest chefs of all time?
Artists and geniuses are always going to have haters. And what do? I think creativity, it's part of what you do in a kitchen. And I think that's where his genius is at, and you have to respect and honor that.
Chef Zuoulu has redefined megalomania in quite the most absurd manner possible.
Have I ever eaten any of my meal creations? Did Picasso eat his paintings? Did Cole Porter drink his music? No, I do everything that I do for one reason. You. I trained under Eastern philosophy, under Shaolin monks. And they'd never consider eating any of their food. They'd go so far as to behead you for it. And they should. They should be able to do that. It's entirely reasonable.
It wasn't so much the physical pain, but the emotional toll that the physical acts he committed upon me entailed. Caning. I know 2 places that do it, Singapore and Chef Zoe's restaurant. Slapping my dick. That was a naked night, when I was naked. Where the maniacal disconnect comes for Zoe versus a regular chef. Why another chef or human being might be perturbed and express it verbally, or even maybe with a warning. Chef Zoe resorts to methods of torture used to interrogate terrorists.
Each meal creation has its own individual note card. But once the creation is created, then the note card is destroyed. See, you wouldn't save and store and manufacture snowflakes from a mold. No. Replication is the very enemy of art. Nothing has ever managed to inspire me as much as the act of spontaneous, passionate, free-form dance. It's from here that all of my most delectable dishes have originated. From the passion, the raw sexual passion that is conceived in dance. Excuse me.
The thing that always impressed me most about Chef Zuoulu was his impatience. And allow me to explain myself. He simply is not imbued with any patience whatsoever, period. And that is an absolutely wonderful characteristic for a chef. As absurd as it may sound, patience is a common rookie mistake, waiting around for things to be just right. Well, let me tell you something. In this business, that'll get you nowhere. If you do not seize your dish by the balls and force it into existence, it will never be remarkable. And it will always, mark my words, be a miserable, worthless, totally unmemorable failure.
Truly, getting to know him and knowing him, it's really redefined my experience as a chef and just as a human being.
Every chef that's worth talking about has his signature dish, and this is mine. It doesn't have a name, nor has it for the 4 years that I've been making it for my adoring fans. I'm not sure any of that matters. Instead of worrying about its name, let's focus for a moment on a few of its core components. A stripped down to its creamy core white carnival carrot, roasted at 91 degrees for 103 minutes in a 6-day preheated oven. After that, a delicate, secret house-made marinade is gently massaged all the way into its center from the floppy outer cortex. Then, a toupee of orange peel shaving nodes, as well as goose, pelican, and common pheasant feather hairs are generously sprinkled atop its central upper portions to pique the aromatic quality. I like to use a single P on the side to prod people's curiosity. Why is there a P, they ask. Exactly, I tell them. All this is topped off with a long, curled, breaded, intestinal, and artisanal linking strip from an eel and one uncooked, unpeeled, nearly rotten shallot. At this point, you're probably wondering, does it taste good? No, it doesn't taste good. It tastes outstanding. It tastes divine. It tastes as if it might set your soul on fire.
Art is a number of things. Even though you're cooking can be art. It doesn't have to be edible, though.
Food critics being, people without real expertise, just sort of talky, pigs. Food critics are really uncomfortable with their knowledge of food. And when presented with things they don't understand, would tend to say, oh, this is great art that I don't understand, rather than, this is garbage. Because they would be revealed to be idiots if their garbage was, say, Jose Andres, putting a foam in a cup. And they say, oh, this is some garbage, and this is great art. So they would tend to assume that something that they don't understand or that is disgusting is just past their level of comprehension.
Some people get food poisoning when they go out to dinner, but not that many. So this is a very intentional experience that you'll walk away with.
He's a goddamned moron.
He shared his 3 philosophies of food with me. And the first one is no rules, just right. The second one is have it your way. And the third one is gotta love it. And you know, I don't know where he came up with them, but it really fits his food so well.
You know, there are other critics who've said that Chef Zuoulu is like deconstructing food, or that it's a postmodern take on food. And, you know, I think Jacques Derrida would be on the same toilet that I was. I think it's a joke.
We start our process of talking to the food. We ask the food question. Like, some of the dishes are based upon what does the food, how does it want to be prepared? You know, you have a celery stalk. You say, hey celery, you feel like being in chicken salad today? Or you have something else on your mind?
To say that Zuoulu is garnish obsessed is a vast understatement, to the point where he builds his entire dishes around the garnish instead of the garnish being a complementary touch to the dish, is very unusual.
As a former food service professional, food safety is number one. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how creative you are, if you are not taking care of your guests in terms of safety, well, you're not cooking. I
don't know if you've heard any critics, which I'll just strongly go ahead and disagree with them. I don't know what they've said. I tend not to read. I've never read a recipe in my life. I make it all up. I tried to read a recipe one time. I got lost. The numbers, man. Do they add up? I don't know.
What Chef Zoe is doing right now in his kitchens across the world is not dissimilar from what NASA is doing with respect to their exploratory efforts all throughout the universe.
You always cook your food through. You always store it at safe temperatures. And the hubris of someone like Zuoulu imagining that he can, you know, use his kundalini to cook a chicken and serve you something gummy and pink that has never been at a safe temperature. I mean, that probably, you know, was never even refrigerated. He's a public health threat.
You never really know where he's coming from, because you think that the main thing that you're eating is what you should be focused on. But really, it's that tiny piece of broken glass here and there in the dish that you'll find as a little surprise that was his main objective the entire time. It's a 180 from what most people are used to, and that approach is kind of fresh.
I think it's important to cry when you cook. Not just because onions make you cry. Sometimes you're so involved in not knowing what you're doing that in the end you figure out that you never knew what you were doing.
In closing, I'd like to say that I suppose food to be the ultimate medium. It goes around and around and around in circles. You ingest, you digest, and then you send that same material back out into the world from whence it came, for it to be recreated. It's not something figurative that I'm saying. It's not like painting or sculpture or the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa will always be just the Mona Lisa. Food, on the other hand, is something that once you take it into your mouth whole, you invaginate it. It becomes a part of you. It is literally a part of you. And that may just be the meaning of life. And it is beautiful.